me. Today's virtual book club for dementia caregivers is led by our facilitator, Jennifer L. Fitzpatrick, author of Cruising Through Caregiving. Her background includes over a decade of serving as an education consultant for the Maryland chapter of the Alzheimer's Association. She is still involved with the Alzheimer's Association as a frequent keynote speaker for their conferences nationwide. She's excited to bring you the 11th session of the book club and to introduce a special guest from the National Office of the Alzheimer's Association in Chicago. Please welcome back Jennifer.
Hi, everybody. Welcome back. So I am super excited. I've always had a special place in my heart for the Alzheimer's Association. As Darlene said, I've worked with them for many years as a volunteer for a long time. I was a consultant for them for over a decade, as Darlene said. I'm very much have a lot of respect for the work that they do. And I was so excited when we were able to get a special guest from the Alzheimer's Association National in Chicago to join us today. So I'm going to introduce her in just a few moments. But before we do that, as always, I want to say a big thank you to Hilarity for Charity and Oasis Senior Advisors, our wonderful sponsors. We would not have the virtual book club for dementia caregivers without Hilarity for Charity and Oasis Senior Advisors. So thank you to both of you for providing all the support for the book club to get information and services out to caregivers, especially those caring for a loved one who has Alzheimer's or another type of dementia. And in a little while, we're going to hear a bit more from Hilarity for Charity and Oasis Senior Advisors. But now I am going to introduce our special guest from the Alzheimer's Association in Chicago, Tiffany Favors. Tiffany has a master's degree in social work from Boston College, and she has a master's of arts from the Ohio State University. She has 2 master's degrees, and she's done all kinds of wonderful service and work in healthcare, mental health, senior care. But before she joined the Alzheimer's Association, she actually was a director at the City of Boston's Area Agency on Aging. And as you probably know, they're another one of my favorite groups that we talk about a lot on book club. So I'm so excited to welcome Tiffany here today. Tiffany is the clinical lead with the Alzheimer's Association. So welcome, Tiffany.
Hi, thank you so much for having me today.
We really are so happy to have the participation of the Alzheimer's Association. And as you can see on the screen, the website, we will keep repeating it, keep reminding you of the website, but it's alz.org. So we're going to jump right in. Today's topic is about the doctor. Now, in Cruising Through Caregiving, I talk a lot about how a good doctor is invaluable, but they can't be your only resource. A lot of times we see family caregivers say, well, I better ask the doctor. And it's never a bad idea to ask the doctor. But why do we need, Tiffany, other resources besides the physician?
We need other resources because we know that this is such a complex disease and there's so many different things that are happening, but there's different types of doctors. So one of the first things, and I really like that your book talks so much about it, was starting with a general practitioner or primary care physician and whether or not they have specialty around the area of dementia and how much help or assistance they can give at that point. So this is a doctor who can maybe get you started on the way, but maybe there are more resources needed, such as a specialist, deal with some of the additional challenges that may come up. I'm so sorry, the light went off in my office.
That's okay, that's all right. You know what? Technology is terrific until we have a glitch, but we just roll with them.
Exactly. So why not having more than just the doctor? I think it's to understand a lot of the nuances of this disease. One of the other things that we talk a lot about here is just that dementia doesn't just happen to the person who has it. It happens to their whole family. It happens to their whole support network. So your doctor is going to be able to address those medical concerns for the person with dementia, but the doctor may not be able to address some of the concerns that the caregiver may have in terms of managing the person who has dementia or helping the caregiver to feel best prepared to have all of the right resources to know what's going on in the community and just the different things that are available, different types of assistance programs and support available to caregivers and families as they navigate this disease.
You said that so well, Tiffany, that the doctor knows about the medical part. And sometimes I think we have caregivers think the doctor can do everything.
Yeah.
And he or she just can't. They can't know about every program, every service, everything. Now, some of them know a lot about resources, but others, they focus strictly on what their skills are, which is the medical component.
Absolutely.
So you said it well.
Absolutely. I think here at the association, so I work with our 24/7 helpline, which I think is a great resource for people that we have people here all the time, including clinicians who can answer questions and provide additional assistance. But some of the most common assistance that we give to people is support around communication strategies in terms of navigating with people who have dementia, how to best speak to the person, how to be able to de-escalate the person or to calm them down. And this isn't typically information that your doctor's going to be able to give you. So this is generally not medication-based, but just what to say when someone is having an episode where maybe they've become agitated, they're wandering, they're getting repetitive in their questions. What are good ways of addressing and talking to the person that can get them calm? And I think that's so important to be able to have those skills. And that's something that our clinicians, our care consultants, is what we call them here. Our care consultants can provide our direct talking points. They can provide examples and different ways of talking with the person to help calm them down, but then also to check in with the caregiver. Because we understand in an episode where someone's maybe had a rough evening, they're dealing with sundown, and you might get the person calmed down, but now the caregiver is pretty wound up and they've had a rough evening as well. So how can we also check in with you to make sure that you're getting the right resources? And caregivers are aware of the resources available to them as well, because anyone in a caregiving role is going to be in need of additional supports and care for themselves as well.
Tiffany, you made such a wonderful point just then that the communication is almost always a struggle in the beginning, especially when people don't understand the dementia that their loved one has. Mm-hmm. Sometimes people take communication issues so personally. Maybe the person's yelling at you. Maybe the person doesn't seem to appreciate you're helping care for them. Mm-hmm. They're responding to hallucinations. And even if the doctor does understand good practice on how to best communicate, how to de-escalate if someone seems agitated or upset or is cursing, which happens,
yes,
we don't necessarily have that kind of time to have that back and forth, like, let's role play this. If your mom starts yelling at you and telling you that you're a stranger and you're a burglar in her house, they don't necessarily have that kind of time.
Yes, absolutely. Because it does take time. If we think about appointments, in an average appointment coming in at about 20 minutes, so the doctor's going to focus on the physical health matters in that 20 minutes. And that's what we want them to focus on. We want them to, check blood pressure, make sure that these things are in line. We want to make sure that all the areas of the health are being addressed in addition to the dementia. But yeah, so what do you do about the fact that, mom keeps asking the same question over and over and over, or she's starting to not recognize me as often, and so it takes more time to calm her down because she thinks I'm a stranger? The doctor may not have a lot of those answers. I think in terms of the services that we offer with our clinicians is that we're looking at people who are social workers, who are licensed therapists. So a lot of this comes down to kind of some social services and some social science of how to talk to someone, of how to understand, of how to redirect during those questions. And we have the time to sit and talk with someone on the phone and to model the best way to talk with someone. On average, our care consultations are right around 30 minutes. And that's what we're here to do. So we can sit with you for 30 minutes to give you the best practices in terms of how to talk to your loved one. And we also have information that we can then mail you to follow up. So I know a lot of times the person will try to start taking notes when we're on the phone with them. And it's great that we can say, you don't have to take all the notes. I'll follow up and send you an email telling you some more tricks and tips to do this. And so that is a great use that your doctor may not have that time, but we have that time to sit with you.
So I'm going to ask you to hold on for a moment about care consultations. We're going to get to that. I want to ask some more specific conversations. But I remember a couple of years ago when I was a consultant with the association, with the Alzheimer's Association, they had some great collateral. I don't know if you all still have it. I haven't seen it in a while, but it was something for the physician that said, don't have time to talk to the patient about some of these behavioral issues. We do. We have the time. Is it? Yeah. And I love that you just said that, because so often the doc doesn't have necessarily time, but you all do. And that's why you're such a wonderful association. So just to revisit some of the concepts we've talked about previously, you're gonna need something from the senior care system at some point. Even for those of you who say, I'm keeping my loved one home, we don't need any help, we've got plenty of friends and family, the rare family that says that, you're gonna need adult day. You might need home care or hospice. You might need nursing home care, senior living, assisted living. But again, Area Agency on Aging, and I always say to folks, go to n4a.org to find your local your local Area Agency on Aging. And again, Tiffany ran one in the city of Boston. We've talked about elder law attorneys. Another one that a lot of times I think we try to ask the doc a lot of medicine questions when we're there. Sometimes the pharmacist is better equipped. So when you're and I'm talking your mom and pop local pharmacy, your CVS, your Rite Aid, whoever it is, Walgreens, I don't want to leave anybody out, Target, whatever. Sometimes I know for me, even if I'm on a routine antibiotic or something and I'll ask a question about it, my doc has said to me, you know what, actually that's a question better suited to the pharmacist. And most pharmacists are actually really happy if they're not overly busy, if you're willing to wait to answer a question. And then, of course, care managers have a place. But then, of course, what we brought Tiffany here today is to talk about nonprofits, and in particular, the Alzheimer's Association. So we've talked a lot about these other groups out there that can help us, but today we really want to talk about the gaps that the Alzheimer's Association can fill for you and your family. So the first one that I'm going to ask everybody is to test everybody's knowledge about what the Alzheimer's Association can help you with. So it's a poll that we've got up. How can the Alzheimer's Association help you? So please check all that apply that you think that they can do for you. Understanding dementia, 24-hour helpline, safeguard for if your loved one wanders, support groups, connecting you with research programs. So just take a moment, and if any of them that you think that the Alzheimer's Association can offer. So we'll give Darlene a minute to tally that. Wow, very good. So 100% of the participants said that understanding dementia, 100% said the 24-hour helpline, and about 83% for all of the others. So everybody, you should know that all of those, all understanding dementia, the 24-hour helpline, safeguards if your loved one wanders, support groups, connecting you with research programs, and more. So Tiffany's going to shed some light on how you can take advantage of these wonderful services, many of which are complimentary, free to the user.
Absolutely. I love this poll, and I was really excited to see this, but just that we do absolutely everything on this poll. And it's such a wonderful service that we have available here. So in terms of understanding dementia, kind of as we just talked about how much time a doctor has to explain the disease to you. So if you are given this diagnosis and you could get some basic information, it's likely that the next step with the doctor is going to be to talk about treatment. So the possibility of adding medications and just some basic management. But we know how complex this disease is and how much there is to know and how many unexpected things happen with this disease, that it's just good to have an idea about what's coming, and that's something that we can offer you. With the Alzheimer's Association is just how to understand dementia. First, understanding dementia as an umbrella term, and then the different types of dementias and how they may play out in the experience with the person. Our 24-hour, oh, sorry, were you going to say something?
Yeah, I'm going to keep us, I'm going to actually get into the next slide and demonstrate a little bit about what you were talking about understanding dementia. Of course, my computer's freezing up now, so it'll unlock in a minute. But there we go. As far as understanding dementia, there's several ways that you all help people understand dementia. We have listed here. So maybe share a little bit about the content that you have. Your website is unbelievable, the amount of content that's on there.
The website is vast. There's so much information, and that's very much our hope, is that we have this information so that people can find it when they need it and they have access to it. In terms of the online videos and content, we have webinars that happen from around the country with the various chapters that people can go on, listen to the information, and get some of the important facts to just better understand. We have basic classes. Probably our most common is our Know the 10 Signs. So we regularly have that information in those classes of just what to look for if you're concerned about dementia in general. So content, we have topic guides and topic sheets that people can look at. We can get you linked up to your local chapter. So one of the first things on the page will be to let you put your zip code in, and it'll connect you to your local chapter where you can find out about what programs are specifically happening in your area and also how to get more involved into some of those programs. And then as you list the live conferences and events, you can then find out what's happening specifically in your area and what's going on around you, whether it's that you need an education program, you're looking for a support group, or you're just starting out and you want or need all of the information. So the website has a lot of those links on it as well. And I'm not sure if you saw one of the newest things on our website is we now have live chat on alz.org. So it's on a lot of our care and support pages. But as you're reading through information about the disease, if you're reading things and you're like, I have so many more questions, you can click chat now and it will connect you with one of the agents here in our 24/7 helpline. And you can talk to someone in real time about what it is that you're reading to get a better understanding of dementia.
And for those of us who are joining live, this is a recorded program, so some people might be joining us after the fact. We're July 31st, 2019. If you have a question for Tiffany or a question for me, feel free to write in at any point. But this is great to know that chat section is available. A great resource. I mean, it could take months to get through all of the content on your sites. I mean, and there's constantly new content being put up, blogs and articles and videos and some really amazing stuff. So you made a comment about the Know the 10 Signs events that you do. Who would you recommend go to something like that?
Know the 10 Signs is great for anyone who maybe has some suspicions about someone that they love maybe having dementia. I think one of the most commonly known things about dementia is the memory loss and the memory impairment. So when we see someone who's starting to frequently forget things, we might be like, well, is there a chance that this could be dementia? Know the 10 Signs is useful because it's just that. There are 10 signs and memory impairment is only one of them. So someone who's maybe got some concerns, this is a great program, whether it's for a loved one, a friend or neighbor, just to go and have a better understanding. Know the 10 Signs is also great for service providers who might have people coming in for various illnesses and they're not sure, but to also have a better understanding. It's a great first step in terms of here are 10 of the most common signs that could lead to a dementia diagnosis. And then based on if you're attending for concerns for someone, how many of those signs are matching up? Does it seem likely that this is dementia? Does it seem likely that it could be another concern? But it really just helps people to start to get an idea, but also be able to take that to your doctor to say that, I learned about these 10 signs and it turns out my mom has been exhibiting 6 of them. And now I'm very concerned.
It's interesting that you say that, Tiffany, because sometimes I know most of the caregivers that join us for the book club, they've already had a diagnosis in their family. But if you don't know, some people, they go to the doctor and maybe you didn't get a diagnosis yet or the doctor's not sure. this might be able to help you, or if you're just starting to notice something. Are there any other programs that you offer that you think that people who are already caregivers can benefit from in particular?
Yes, so we offer with our programs in local community, we have a wide variety of programs. We have education programs that share more information about the disease and planning. And our education programs are open to everyone, both persons with dementia and their caregivers, to learn more. A lot of our education programs also bring in a lot of those other resources that you kind of just mentioned: pharmacists, elder law attorneys, assisted living facilities, skilled nursing facilities can come to speak about those experiences, also hospice care and what we're looking at in some of the later stages. But we also offer support groups for caregivers throughout communities, and depending on your community, there can be a breakdown in the types of support groups. So we have some that are even as specific as support groups for adult children. That's
I'm going
something.
to bring that up in a minute.
I had a feeling you would.
So is there any titles of the events that you would say a current dementia family caregiver should go to or seek out? Another topic besides Know the 10 Signs that you think would be beneficial?
I would say any of our education programs.
Okay.
I know it sounds almost self-serving, but I would go as far as saying all of the programs are going to be beneficial based on your family's needs. When we talk about advanced planning, if you don't already have your advanced planning, your power of attorney in place, certainly attend those workshops. One of the great advantages of those is that they're typically led by an elder law attorney, so you're getting a consult for free.
Yes,
you'll get a free consult that can get you well on your way to getting things set up, and you're not going to pay a somewhat sizable fee to hear that exact same information. So we have regular programs of understanding dementia behaviors is also a really, really good one to attend, because it helps people to realize what's happening that's more than just the forgetfulness. And I know this chapter listed out a long list of symptoms, and I think that was so great because they're often the symptoms that people don't know about, such as the quick behavioral changes. There's even a lot of research that talks about what people used to once think of as a midlife crisis actually being the onset of dementia, because there was such a sudden shift in behavior and kind of a loss of that good judgment and some irrational behavior from someone that people didn't realize isn't just because someone is suddenly freaking out that they're 65 years old. It's actually because of this disease. So I would say, honestly, any and all programs are a great resource to caregivers because there's so much information to glean, and then just the ability to connect with association staff and others who are also in this caregiving position to find some support.
So while the national office is in Chicago, wherever you live, you will be able to find a local chapter that covers your geographic area. And again, if you're not right there, there is a lot online. So just go to alz.org, see what's in your area, what live programs, but also if it's a little bit of a drive to some of those live events, see what's available online, and that chat section is invaluable. But now one of my favorite things that the Alzheimer's Association offers is the 24-hour helpline. Now, before I start asking Tiffany about that, I want to remind everybody, just because they're open 24 hours does not mean that they can fix all your problems, but there is always somebody listening.
Yes.
So tell us a little bit about maybe some stories of people you all help with the helpline.
Absolutely. We really are here 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. We have our care consultants, our clinicians available 24/7 as well. So there isn't a time where you won't be able to reach someone. But we are always here. I tell people, people are always amazed to know that I work till midnight, 5 days a week, because we are staffed and we are here to take those calls. We get a variety of phone calls. Some of the common ones are, I have concerns about this. I hear my loved one is exhibiting these symptoms and I'm nervous about what this could mean. Or we were given this diagnosis and I just don't feel prepared to do this. I don't know where to start. We get a lot of those calls of, I don't know where to start. And I appreciate when people tell us, my doctor said to call you guys, but that's all that I know. And we're always thrilled to hear that, because again, this is that time where we can take the time to sit with you and to talk through what this is going to look like, what this is going to mean. We can give you a big picture overview. We can focus in on the small things. And also, you can always call us back. We always want to make sure we don't overwhelm people. So this is a lot of disease to talk about. So if today we only want to hit just the basics, that's great. Call us next week when you're ready to hear a little bit more. Call us 3 or 4 months from now when things start to change. Call us 3 or 4 years from now when the disease looks different. And we'll still be able to provide that level of support to people in terms of care planning, figuring out next steps. We do a lot of transition from in-home care to potentially moving into a residential care facility and what that looks like. We provide a lot of those resources. So I like when you brought up all the different resources that people need. We have a really wonderful site that we use, and it's called the Community Resource Finder. And you can link to that. It's communityresourcefinder.org, I believe. It links from our alz.org page, but you can go in, type in your zip code, and in a mileage range, exactly what you're looking for. Are you looking for support groups? Are you looking for educational programs? Are you looking for specialists, so a geriatric psychiatrist? Are you looking for elder law attorneys? Are you looking for facilities? So that's something that anyone can utilize, but we're also happy to do that search for you. So if you give us a call, we'll go through, do the search, just because we can navigate the page pretty quickly, and we'll send you an email with those resources to you of exactly who to give a call to next, who to start talking to, or where to get that next step from.
One of the things that you said that really struck me was in Cruising Through Caregiving, I talk a lot about course correcting.
Yeah.
And you might be listening today and, I don't really think I need the helpline right now, or I don't need to go to an event right now, or I don't need to go on the chat, but things change with this disease. And as we all know, someone could live 10 years, 12 years, 15 years with Alzheimer's or another type of dementia. So like Tiffany said, maybe you don't need the helpline today. You're doing all right, but just know that it's there. It's complimentary. 800-272-3900. I think it's one of the most amazing resources that's out there.
Absolutely.
Again, your doctor, not to say you should call your doctor if you have an emergency in the middle of the night, if there's a true emergency. But with the 800 number at the Alzheimer's Association, it doesn't have to be necessarily an emergency. Your loved one might be wandering around the house in the middle of the night and you can't sleep and you're losing your mind a little bit. They can talk to you about that, about maybe what are ways that you can handle that a little bit better.
Absolutely. And I think that that's exactly what we experience with people. We can take your call in a crisis. We try our hardest to be able to get people in, if they're in a crisis, to talk to someone immediately. But sometimes we'll give you a call back if we can't get you in contact with one of our care consultants, but we're here and we definitely want to help. I think one of the things that I always think about was when I first started, when I was a care consultant, was that I got a call from a man who was at home with his mother. He'd moved in with her to provide assistance, and she had dementia, and she was just very agitated at the moment, and she was asking repetitive questions, and she needed to know where lots of people in the family were, people he said that they hadn't seen in years, but every time she would get past one person, she'd move on to the next. And he was just getting extremely frustrated and worn out. And so he called us because he didn't know what else to do. And so I'm talking to him on the phone, and he's still just very wound up and really, really agitated, which is totally understandable. Mm-hmm. But I'm talking to him, and his mother, I can hear her in the background start to ask questions, and he's trying to talk to her and trying to talk to me. So I just get quiet for a second, and he had put the phone on speaker. And I had asked him to take the phone back off a speaker so that his mother was only hearing him, so that she wasn't getting confused by this other voice. Yes. And then she asked him another question. She asked him 3 times. And I simply said to him, say this to your mother. And I gave him a line to say to her. And he said it to her. And she stopped asking the question. And she asked a different question. And he said, what should I say now? And I was like, say this. And I give him a second line. And it redirects her. And you can hear her calming down. And he's like, what should I do next? I was like, tell her that you're going to meet her downstairs in just a couple of minutes. You just need to finish up the phone call. And she went back downstairs and she sat down on the couch. She said she'd wait for him. And his response was just, I don't know what you just did. And it was a lot of what you just said, the course correction. It was just a communication strategy. It's so good to have those on the front end than the other side, because when a person with dementia becomes agitated, so does the caregiver. And it's understandable. You've been asked the same question constantly for an hour, and you answering it doesn't help. You answering it honestly doesn't help. A therapeutic fib doesn't help. The question just keeps coming. Then it's helpful to have those techniques. And so once his mother was calm, he and I then talked for about 15 more minutes of other ways to navigate when she becomes more agitated. We talked about some things on the front end, so looking for triggers. So were there things that happened before her behavior changed?
Yes.
And how do we minimize those behaviors? I like that there was the information earlier about wandering. We do a lot about care and safety planning of how to best prepare for someone who has wandered, how to be prepared to support them to make sure it doesn't happen, and then what to do in the event that it does. But we get a lot of those phone calls and we hear a lot of these situations, and we're prepared to answer these questions. We have a couple layers and levels of people who can help with those questions. So generally, if you've got a question, we're going to find out who has the answer for you.
And one of the things that you said about giving him a line, it's the objectivity. You have experience and you have objectivity. And even if you know your mom or you know your husband better than anybody, you don't necessarily have the objectivity and the experience that someone at the 800 number has. So another good reason to use that 800-272-3900, open 24 hours a day.
Absolutely. Absolutely. We're here and you're right. We've heard it. We've seen it. We have an idea that it works, and we can be objective. And in a sense, we can be calm. This is what I talk to the agents when we're training new people. We want to bring the calm to your day. And so that's what we're here to offer.
So the Safe Return Program, this is, I got to tell you, Tiffany, I tell everybody who has a loved one with any type of dementia to get involved with your Safe Return, because even if your loved one doesn't wander, they've never walked away from home, they've never walked away from you, they've never walked out in the middle of the night in their pajamas, it's always a possibility.
Yes, it is. It is. And it's a scary possibility. And when it does happen, should it happen, it's terrifying for so many reasons. A lot of people sometimes don't realize that wandering has already been a concern, but the person has been able to safely navigate themselves back home, back to where they're supposed to be. So typically we don't know that wandering is a concern until they aren't able to get themselves back home, until someone picks them up, until a family friend tells you, I found her walking down the street, and she thought she was just going for a walk and knew where she was going. So it is such a great program to get registered with our Medical Alert and Safe Return program that provides a bracelet or a necklace for people to wear. The bracelets are really great because it takes two hands to take them off. So a person is not going to be able to take it off themselves, but it has a number on it of who to call should someone find them, but also an ID to get you connected back to your loved one faster. If a person is just found wandering, typically you're going to have to interface with police to try to determine who the person is and who to call. But this program allows us to kind of fast track it of, we called the number, we gave the ID number, and it said exactly who this person is and exactly who we need to call now. And we can give them a call to say that your loved one has been found. She's at the grocery store. Can someone come and pick her up? But it's just a great resource in advance of any potential wandering. It's a great resource to have available for someone just to be safe, especially as you're starting to prepare for more wandering concerns, which are a big concern for people just because of the short-term memory, the forgetfulness, and the not remembering things of, yes, you've lived in the same neighborhood for the last 30 years, but it looks a little bit different today. And you took a wrong turn, and that wrong turn led to more wrong turns. This is just a way to kind of safeguard a person at this level. And then with this program, we recommend this program very often for people who are dealing with wandering, but then to look at other programs as well in terms of safeguarding your home to prepare it for wandering as well.
The other part of that, Tiffany, is I don't think it matters if you're in a city or if you're in a rural area or a suburb. There are risks everywhere. There are people, you've heard every story working where you do, but people get on trains, they drive cars, they get very far on foot. It doesn't matter where you live. It's unbelievable the sorts of things that can happen. And it's just so important to do, especially if that person is at home and that's, you want to keep them home, that's great. Just get them enrolled in Safe Return. And just if they do walk away, one example I know I talk about it in Cruising Through Caregiving, a gentleman that would, family I worked with, a gentleman would go back, he'd come from the mailbox or walking around the neighborhood and then try to get into his neighbor's house.
Yeah.
And it wasn't, obviously he wasn't trying to break into his neighbor's house, but the neighbor was sort of having trouble understanding it because the neighbor, all the neighbor knew about was, well, if you have Alzheimer's, you forget short-term memory loss. Why would you forget your house?
Yep.
The neighbor couldn't wrap their head around it either, but those sorts of things do happen. Oh, it looks like, you know what, I'm trying to use my key here. So altercations with others, true danger with the elements, snow and heat, but also, people with untoward intentions towards your loved one. I mean, there's just so many reasons to enroll in Safe Return, and the link is right here. So please take a look at the Safe Return program with the Alzheimer's Association. It's a wonderful program, and I think I believe it's about 60% of people with Alzheimer's do wander at one point or another. Is that the most recent? Yeah. Okay, so now we're going to just take a quick break, and we're going to say thank you and hello again to Hilarity for Charity and Oasis Senior Advisors. HilarityForCharity.org, OasisSeniorAdvisors.com. Hello, Tim Ivankovich, who is the CEO of Oasis Senior Advisors. How are you today, Tim?
Good, Jennifer. How about yourself?
Good. I'm sure that you have definitely referred plenty of people to the Alzheimer's Association over the years.
We have certainly big supporters, and most of our offices around the country participate in the ALZ walks all over the place and raise awareness and support for Alzheimer's in that regard. So yeah, we're strong supporters and love all that they do for our families and our seniors.
And Tim brought up another program, that the Walk to End Alzheimer's, that is a program that a lot of family caregivers join in to raise awareness about Alzheimer's disease, but also raise funds. So yeah, absolutely, Tim. It's a great way for people to show their support for persons with Alzheimer's and other types of dementia. So Tim, I want to thank you so much for having being part of the virtual book club for dementia caregivers and all of that you're doing for dementia caregivers. I want to remind everybody that Oasis Senior Advisors is completely complimentary to the family caregiver. If you get to a point, like we said, about course correcting, you need help, you feel like maybe your loved one, maybe they've wandered out of the house for the 10th time, even though you have Safe Return, it's still getting to be a lot. This is where Oasis Senior Advisors can come in and help.
Without question, we do a lot of cross-referencing to elder law attorneys and all those. And commonly, when you were talking about the doctors, they're oftentimes the first line of defense, realizing that senior probably should not be living at home. So that's, again, they can refer to us and a free service to our families to help them find the right assisted living. And again, Jen, it's great to partner with you and especially with Hilarity for Charity and this book club, and we're thrilled to be a part of it as always.
Thanks so much, Tim.
Pleasure.
And now I want to invite RJ Mercedes, the Director of Programming and Development for Hilarity for Charity, HilarityForCharity.org. And Hilarity for Charity does some terrific things for persons with Alzheimer's disease. And tell us what's going on in the world with Hilarity for Charity today, RJ.
Sure. Thanks, Jen. Thank you to Tim, and special thank you to Tiffany. Just really appreciate all of the robust resources that the Alzheimer's Association puts together. So Hilarity for Charity is running strong right now. And one of our big programs is our North American in-home respite relief. You know how important that is. So folks that are looking to apply for free respite relief with our care partner, Home Instead Senior Care, can go to our website, hilarityforcharity.org, to learn more. We have our online support groups that we're continuing to run throughout. So no matter where you're located, you can kind of log on through your computer, and they're all led by licensed social workers, and we have more and more things happening. So we encourage you to reach out to us and learn kind of what we're about and how you can be involved.
hilarityforcharity.org. The wonderful thing about today is almost every single thing, not every single thing, but most of it that we're talking about is completely complementary to the family caregiver. The support groups that Hilarity for Charity runs, we're going to actually talk about the Alzheimer's Association support groups as well, but the respite grants. So if you or somebody you know might benefit from a respite relief grant from Hilarity for Charity, hilarityforcharity.org. Wonderful, wonderful service. So thank you so much, RJ, for supporting the virtual book club for dementia caregivers, and thanks for everything that Hilarity for Charity is doing.
Of course. Well, thank you all for taking advantage of this resource, and we're here to help however we can.
Thank you. So now we're going to invite Tiffany back. Thank you again to our sponsors. So Tiffany, RJ talked a little bit. Hilarity for Charity does have some terrific online support groups. I know that you do as well, but Alzheimer's Association got so many live in-person support groups. So, and you started talking a little bit earlier about the different subtypes, which is so exciting. So tell us a little bit about the different kinds of support groups that people can find in their very own community.
Yeah, so we offer a lot of different support groups, and we offer them at various times to also be convenient to people, understanding that you may be a primary caregiver who is still working a 9-to-5 job to support your family. So we have support groups that are available in the evening that you can attend after work. We have support groups that are available earlier in the day for people who may not be working or might even be working in the evening. But we have support groups that are aimed at kind of those intersecting areas of caregivers, such as support groups for the adult children of people with Alzheimer's, because it's very much a different experience of taking care of your parent and having to assume all responsibility of a parent, and that can be a lot for someone to navigate. We have support groups that are aimed directly at spouses. So what is it like to navigate this disease, to provide this level of care, but to also be reflecting on the change in your relationship that you have with your spouse and what your life looks like now. There are some support groups that are aimed at men. So men who are the primary caregivers and their experiences of providing that level of care. We have support groups that are for friends, that they're for families. We have support groups that are offered at various locations that then allow for different levels of connection, whether it's offered at a church that may or may not have a spiritual component if people are interested in it, or being able to talk to people at the church. We have them offered at hospitals and at medical centers that may involve the support of medical professionals who are stepping in. And they're run by various people. They're run by social workers. They're run by community members who have been through this themselves, so they're able to add that insight. They're run by medical professionals. So there's such a variety of support groups. And so with that, we talk to people a lot about, if you go to a support group and it doesn't feel like the best fit, find another one. They're not all similar. In fact, they're very different in the people and the quality and the experience. So it's okay if the first one you attend doesn't feel like a fit, but look for another one, because there is so much value in simply connecting with other people who are dealing and managing with this disease, and to be able to share that known and lived experience with others.
It's so powerful. I've talked to so many people over the years who've said it's been their lifeline. But I've also sadly talked to a lot of people who say, I'm not a joiner. I don't want to air my dirty laundry in public. But if that's how you feel, try one of the online ones. You can be more anonymous that way. But the live in-person ones, one of the things that I find so powerful, I've been a guest at many support groups, as I'm sure you've been privy to many, And one of the most powerful dynamics that I see is the different periods of time. So it could be someone who their loved one was just diagnosed. Then you've got them sitting next to somebody who's had their loved one diagnosed for 3 years, and they've been a member of the support group for 2 years. And then they've got somebody whose loved one actually has passed away, but they remain in the support group, and they're giving their wisdom and their insight. And some of the most powerful, as a guest expert, when I come in, I might share some ideas and thoughts, but when somebody who has done it for 5 years gives the exact same advice to another member, it is so powerful. When you talked about the communicating, how to communicate, how to redirect, if sometimes a professional says it and it's like, you don't understand, but when a member of that support group says it, oh yeah, my wife did that too, and I was just like you for years.
Yeah.
And it kind of has a different ring to it, doesn't it?
Absolutely. Absolutely. And that's why we encourage people to go. It's sometimes even similar with people who call the helpline and will say to try this. And that just seems too simple. And it's like, but try it. And then going to a support group and having someone say, I tried it and it worked. And it did seem simple, but it's exactly what she needed. That's exactly what that experience does. I think that's so important to have those connections with other people, because caregivers need so much support when navigating this disease. And it's so important to have those in real time supports with people who both understand this. And then even if you just want to spend time with people and not talk about it, but somebody who maybe gets how tired you are.
Exactly. Because one of the big issues in being a caregiver for someone with dementia is you're going to have friends and family who maybe aren't necessarily in the trenches with you, and they want to say the right thing, but they might not get it. But the people in the support group, they get it. They really, they're your peers. They really are your peers. So like Tiffany said, I love your advice, Tiffany. If you didn't like one group, try another one. And it's amazing how many groups are active. Sometimes to help someone along, I'll go to your website and say, oh, remind me of your geographic area. And it's amazing how many the list that gets generated. It's very long, lots of options. So let's talk a little bit about Trial Match. One of the components about the Alzheimer's Association that's so special is research. And why don't you tell us a little bit, why should people care about research? Why should they be engaged in Trial Match?
So our Trial Match program and engaging with it is such a great idea, because we know a lot about this disease now, but there's still so much we don't know. And we need other people to kind of help us get there. We need people who have been diagnosed. We need people who are considered to be healthy. We need people who maybe have seen a family connection. This allows us to just make more connections, to better understand this disease, to look at pictures of healthy brains, to look at pictures of brains with dementia, to see what we learn and what we understand. So participating in these trials just gives us more of a baseline. The more people we have, the more people who are engaged, the more identities that are being recognized. We talk about that we see more women with dementia than men, but we don't have a good reason for that. We see higher rates of it in Black communities and in Latino communities, but we're still not entirely sure why. Participating in these programs allows us to get more information, to draw those parallels, to maybe understand why. And then the more we understand, the more we can start to work toward prevention. And ultimately, our huge goal is finding a cure for this disease. But we need the engagement of people. And so we welcome everyone for our Trial Match program. It's not just for people who have the disease. It's for people who don't. It's for younger people. It's for anyone who might be interested. And there's so many studies. It's very easy. You go to the site, you sign up for the site to see what's available. And while you're looking to see what's available, you can find out about studies in your area and then be invited to participate in different studies that might occur as well.
Great. We have lost Jen. So Tiffany, if you would like to continue speaking more about this, that would be great. And I know that she'll be able to log on in just another minute.
Okay, not a problem.
Thank you.
So again, with registering for Trial Match, you would go to the website, it'll ask you some basic information and then kind of immediately give you information about trials and programs that are already underway in your community. These may be at hospitals or research studies. And kind of it varies what a study might be looking for. Some of them are going to be imaging tests. So they might ask you to do an MRI or a CT scan. So they're going to actually be looking for pictures of brains, and they want to see healthy brains, and they want to see brains that have been affected by dementia. And they may want to see brains over time. So it might be a long-term study where they're doing regular scans and imaging just to regularly look at your brain or participate. They're going to track other things. We just released information about a study that's really tying in blood pressure and dementia. So studies that are looking at blood pressure and looking at people's overall measures and dimensions of health and how that might impact the disease as well. So there's a lot of different studies. And I mean, our Trial Match program is headed up by doctors. So these are the brains. These are our doctors, these are our researchers who are heading this up, who are looking at the information that we have found so far and seeing what we can do with that information, where we can make more connections and where we can start to be able to better help and support people as well.
Great. And we'll try to fill in for Jen here for just a minute. You also have the Please Be Patient cards. Could you tell us about those?
Yeah, so I think those are such a wonderful resource, and you can download them from our website and print them out. The card essentially says, please be patient. The person that I'm with has Alzheimer's or another form of dementia. These are great to take to restaurants. They're great to take to stores and to other places. And it's something that you can just, set out on the table quietly, so that maybe the server can see this, and it helps them to understand what's going on in the situation. If a person is needing more time or having more questions or needing more assistance, this is really a great resource to just have on hand, to pass to people, and to help them to be better prepared to sit and support with you, and to just have that patience. If it means that, we'll let you know when to come back to the table to take our order, as opposed to the server coming back multiple times, or going to the bank and helping the person to understand that it may take a little bit longer to look up account numbers and to get information. But those can be a great resource just to have a few with you and to just present it quietly. And also, by presenting the card, also maintains a level of dignity, so you don't have to announce it in a way that might upset or embarrass a person who has dementia, but just a way to kind of support them and have them ready.
Okay, great. Thank you. And I'm still waiting for Jen to come on, so I'm going to just kind of move along here as far as what should you expect from your doctor? And what if you need to adjust and course correct?
So you should expect from your doctor to start talking about the process of this disease, to maybe provide the diagnosis, or to maybe refer you to a specialist. It's always a good idea to ask to see a specialist too. I really loved in the book that it stated that if a person was diagnosed with cancer, you would be sent to a cancer specialist to manage the disease. And that's what we would say the same thing with dementia, that it would be important to see a neurologist, to talk to a geriatric psychiatrist, but that you're seeing a specialist who can talk to you more about the specifics and the ins and outs of this disease. So, once your doctor is telling you about this diagnosis, asking for a referral if they have one that they can make, doing your own research to find doctors that are well-versed, finding out how much your doctor knows about the disease and how much they'll be able to help you, asking questions if they talk about, wanting to prescribe medication. A lot of people aren't as sure. They're prescribed, especially commonly, Aricept. And they're not as sure about the disease. So asking the doctor questions, asking a pharmacist questions about the medication and what that process looks like. But ultimately finding out if the doctor has any referrals or other resources that they want to refer you to, and how important those can be as you're starting this process to essentially kind of start to create your support network, which is absolutely going to include your doctor. But who else should it include, and what other resources are available to you to jump in. And certainly the Alzheimer's Association, we hope that you'll make us a part of your support network too, in terms of being able to answer questions and to be prepared. One of the other things that we do offer through our 24/7 helpline is preparation for doctor's visits. So we are happy to help you to be organized, to take the most pertinent information to your doctor, to be able to get closer to getting a diagnosis, understanding what's happening, or finding out what is going on. Is this an irreversible dementia? Is this a sign of something else? But just to be best prepared to talk to your doctor to get the best support as you go in.
Great, thank you. If anybody has any questions, please feel free to utilize that chat feature. Unfortunately, it looks like Jen is not going to be able to log back in. So Tiffany, I'll ask if there's anything that else you'd like to say as we wrap up before we end this with our participants today.
Yeah, I'd say one other thing as we were talking about support groups is to mention that we have something called All's Connected. And you can find that information through our website. All's Connected is a message board type forum. So it's kind of like an online support group. A lot of people utilize it to ask specific questions. And again, people can share their knowledge and their insight of what it was like as they were navigating this disease to figure out what sources of support, what sources of support and help can benefit them. And just what's available for people. So it's another great resource. But getting connected to your local chapter is great, to just connect with people, the various programs, the various levels of support. You can call our 24/7 helpline and we can help get you connected to your local chapter. You can also find that information online and utilizing, again, our chat features as needed and just a lot of the various resources. We have a lot of resources. We do this work, we understand, and our greatest hope is to be a support to people as they navigate this disease.
Okay, great, thank you. Jen is here, but she doesn't seem to be on audio yet. I would like to take this moment just to thank you, Tiffany, for this. I do apologize for this, Jen unexpectedly leaving us. I appreciate you filling in on this. I would like to take this time to thank our sponsors again, Hilarity for Charity and Oasis Senior Advisors. They can both be found at hilarityforcharity.org as well as oasisssenioradvisors.com. We would not be able to do this without you, and Tiffany, without your support with other presenters, we're so grateful for you. We will have our next virtual book club next Wednesday, which is August 7 at 4 p.m. Eastern. Again, we will be sending out a recording of this program, so you'll be able to review that. Tiffany, thank you so much for joining us today. We're very grateful for your time. RJ and also Tim, thank you. I will leave this open for just a couple minutes in case there are any other questions or are any questions, but otherwise we'll look forward to seeing you again next week. And again, thank you so much for your time today. We greatly appreciate it. Have a wonderful evening.